rainfall rate. Now, there's parts of this line that concern me, and it's not just the part of the line that's going to go north of Louisville. I'll take you back over to Storm View 3D. What you'll notice here is along the line we're starting to break down here. Near Leavenworth, you see one cell, and this cell here is actually rather concerning here. That's just north of Brandenburg. If you look at that, Jeremy, it's starting to show a little tail on that. That makes me a little nervous. Just got a status update from the National Weather Service. They're saying severe squall line with 70 miles an hour just to the east of English by 10 miles, moving northeast at 70 miles per hour, warning the potential for 70-mile-per-hour winds. And what they're saying here is we don't have a confirmed tornado on the ground, but this is something that we need to watch very closely, and I think that's a good idea. Let's go back over to velocity and see if we actually can see that curlicue continuing as we look along the line. And there it is, just south of the Milltown area, actually just southwest of Milltown. Jeremy, it is not near as defined as it was, so I think if that indeed was a spin-up that was occurring, I'll take you back and notice where I'm pointing to, southwest of Milltown. You can see bright greens and bright reds, and then as it heads towards Milltown, it looks like it's weakening some. So that threat may have come down just a little bit, but this goes to show you that we can get these kind of spin-ups real quickly. And I talked about that area that I was concerned about to the south. Let's be a little more specific. That's near the Muckport area. Looking at the radar, does show broad diffuse rotation. I wouldn't call it something that's overly concerning right now. The normalized rotation, which will give us kind of an idea if specifically there's an area that we'd be more concerned about. I don't see anything there too terribly concerning. Here's that area, Jeremy. It looks like another area of rotation now has developed south of Hardinsburg, Indiana. That is, that's actually pretty significant rotation there. That's ultimately, if it holds together, would go towards New Pekin. Down the line, you need to be thinking about in New Pekin. If this holds together, where am I going to go? So there's multiple areas of rotation within the tornado warned area. I really think the National Weather Service is doing a good job by putting this broad tornado warning. Washington includes Crawford, includes northern Floyd and Clark County. And you know what? I think the path here, everybody remembers obviously March 2nd, so I think people along that path are going to be prepared. But you know what? I always like to mention areas like Pekin, like Borden, like Henryville when a tornado warning's issued, because I know that our areas that were affected by the March 2nd tornado are probably going to be a little bit more nervous. Now, this is going to go along the path, at least the rotation area that March 2nd went. It doesn't mean that it's the same kind of storm, but it does mean it affects areas that are similar. So what I want to do is just kind of quickly and calmly remind you what to do. If you're in the tornado warning now, let's go ahead and remember, just get the kids together. You want to go downstairs. If you've got a basement, that's the place to go. If you don't have a basement, don't think, oh my goodness, I can't be safe. That's not the way this works. You go to an interior room of your house, a room that has more walls around it. Now, a lot of times that can be a closet in the center of the house, or it can be a bathroom in the center of the house, and then you can go ahead and get in the bathtub. That way you protect yourself. If you don't have a bathtub in the center of the house, go into one of those interior closets, wrap yourself and the kids maybe in some of their winter coats, and then just kind of hunker down as the storm goes by. We're going to let you know as it goes past your area what the threat is. Again, I feel always a sense of attachment to our friends that went through everything they did on March 2nd. So that's kind of a little bit of what to expect. Now, Jeremy, from a lightning standpoint, it's kind of interesting. We're really not getting a lot of lightning out of these storms. So in a sense, what we're looking at is almost severe rain showers.
Yeah. You know, we talked about this quite a bit before, that the limiting factor would certainly be instability, as oftentimes is the case with wintertime and fall severe weather systems. That's the case with this one. Even though the air is very warm outside, it's also very moist. We don't have real cold air above us, and because of that, that creates a lack of instability. This storm system being driven almost entirely by wind dynamics and forcing, and I think that in my experience with storms like this, they do produce tornadoes, but usually they're the quicker hitting type. They're usually here, they're there, they're lifted within a few minutes. But it's, I think the Weather Service, as you mentioned, has identified the area of most concern just to the apex of, to the north of the apex of that bow.
And what I want to do here, Jeremy, is let's spend a little time here. We've got Storm View HD up. Let's go up and down the line because there's a lot of warnings that are now in effect that go through Crothersville as well. So here, if you could, take control Storm View HD. And what we'll do is go across our entire area to take a look specifically, because now we have added Seymour and southern part of Jackson, and then all of Jennings County into the severe thunderstorm warnings. Now, this part of the line here, you may not even believe when I say this, is moving off to the north and east. Listen to this, at 80 miles an hour. The storm's moving at 80 miles per hour. Now, if you've been outside in Louisville over the last few minutes, you notice it's getting breezy. So this thing probably here, although it just doesn't look very impressive near Crothersville, has the potential as it goes through Lovett, through Seymour, North Vernon, to produce winds to 60 miles an hour. Now, what I'll be looking for over the next few hours as we do these cut-ins is for you to let me know what you're seeing in your area, if you can do it safely. So if you can do it safely, find me on Facebook. It's Mark Weinberg, Mark with a C. Just click the like button and comment. Let me know what you're seeing in your area. Areas I'm interested in right now are Seymour and Crothersville. If you can safely let me know what you're seeing, find me on Facebook, Mark Weinberg, or Twitter, and let me know. Jeremy, as we go south on the line, we got to the part of the storm that is tornado warned here. Now, this is the part of the segment here that is broken now into two distinct little segments. And when you get these breaks, sometimes what you will get is tornado spin-ups. Now, I will also say, traditionally speaking, the line that goes ahead is the greater concern. And we see more lightning strikes near Georgetown, PRP. So what I want to do is watch that part of the line to see if the National Weather Service does tornado warn. What we know is when it's in the metro, sometimes they just don't like to take the risk. So I wouldn't be surprised if we got a tornado warning in the metro. That's something that we'll watch here. The most intense area, Jeremy, let's go along with the 150 area here and see most intense area of that line right now, and we'll track that off towards the north and east as it goes towards the Borden area. But Morgan, right now, you need to be taking tornado safety precautions. Fredericksburg, you need to be taking tornado safety precautions. Daisy Hill and Borden, time to take your tornado safety precautions. Times, put it in Morgan in 2 minutes, 11 minutes in the Borden area, 20 minutes will be in Carr, 29 minutes in Lexington, and Republican 33 minutes. Jeremy, let's continue down that line as we track the rest of the line, because that's not the only part of the line. We don't want to only focus on where we have a tornado warning. There's also the possibility of strong and some damaging winds. Remember, the National Weather Service is warning the southern edge of that line for winds up to 70 miles an hour. Now, that doesn't include the Louisville metro area. But, Jeremy, would you agree here with this going through Corden right now and one county away, Louisville needs to be preparing for 60 to 70 mile an hour winds?
Absolutely, Mark.
Okay.
This line is going to hold together.
Okay, and what we're noticing here, little appendage near the Corden area. Notice right through Corden. If you can let me know in Corden safely what you saw as the line came through, give me a report on Facebook or Twitter. Let me know so I can then pass it along. Would appreciate that. And Jeremy, let's track the line from Corden all the way south through around the Litchfield area, which is moving off to the north and east. It's somewhere close to 70, and at times has been going as high as 80 miles per hour. So it's cooking off to the north and east. Times will put it here for us. 3 minutes in Georgetown, 17 minutes in Louisville. Now, we're not under a warning yet, but I can't conceivably see a way we won't go under a warning. 33 minutes J-Town, 43 Campbellsburg, puts it in the West Point area, let's say around 30 minutes from now. Radcliffe, it would be around 45, and Hardinsburg, Kentucky right now puts it in your area momentarily. So that's kind of a track of what we're looking at across the line here. Jeremy, any new updates from the National Weather Service? Any new updates on the rotation that you're seeing here?
Well, what I'm seeing, Mark, on radar would indicate that there's more than one area of rotation with the storm. We have that one area that we had identified that is kind of going through the heart of that tornado warned area, but we also have little circulations on both the north side of that and also to the south. The one near DePaul continues to be probably the best organized, but it's not real tight. It's not real concentric. Also, there's another small area of rotation that, Mark, you had identified a little while earlier. That's further to the north. That's very close to the Hardinsburg area, and that's something that should be watched as well. Let's see if we can make sure we can show that that I'm showing you on Storm View 3D.
Okay,
here we go. The other area, as I was just showing them a couple areas of interest as far as possible rotation is concerned, Mark. Palmari, you're kind of in between those two circulations. That is something I certainly would be watching as well. Local storm report coming in from the National Weather Service of thunderstorm wind gusts. Trees reported down in the Hardinsburg area.
And that's Hardinsburg, Kentucky, by the way, in Breckenridge County.
Yeah, which obviously impacted by the storm as well. We're going to go back over to Storm View HD so we can show you that.
And one thing here, Jeremy, the National Weather Service is now saying that they're closely watching the southern Harrison County storm just south of Corden. That's what we talked about. And I think that what they're kind of communicating to us is, I'm concerned that we could get a spin up. Now, in these kind of situations, the National Weather Service can handle that in two ways. What they can do is issue a severe thunderstorm warning and say a tornado is possible, or they can actually go ahead and issue a tornado warning just in case. Now, that area of rotation, if it occurred, is near the New Middletown area. Now, if that part holds together, puts it in Shively in probably about 12 to 14 minutes, if a tornado warning was issued. And I'll show you on Storm View 3D, we are seeing that area rotation, Jeremy. Notice that right near New Middletown. See that little where the green and red come together? That could be a quick spin up trying to occur.
Sure.
And from a rotation standpoint, I'm seeing, let me get you a velocity here. I'm looking at rotation within that area somewhere close to about 60 miles an hour, which would make it a weak tornado. But, you know, we could get a spin up here in between those volume scans, and that's something that we tend to see in these lines. In our area, these can be more common than the traditional big supercells like we saw on March 2nd.
Absolutely, and it makes it very difficult to predict because they happen so fast, and they can be numerous as well. We're obviously looking at more than one area of rotation. This one that Mark has identified for you of particular concern. This is, you can kind of see the broad area of rotation that's now evident just south of Palmar. I don't think that this is tornado producing, but it is in the middle of that tornado warned area. It's sort of looking a little bit more like it's just becoming what we call a meso low pressure system.
It looks like, and it looks outflow dominated. You know, it looks like the broad front of that line is producing the gusts, and the backside doesn't necessarily appear to be showing rotation. It looks like it's transitioning more towards a damaging wind threat, which, you know, when we talked about could be the case. A lot of times that southern storm will take over the rotation, and that's what we have. That area that's near Corden could be taking over rotation and may become the show.
Sure, and we have seen that many times in the past where the storm on the south side, it intercepts the best moisture, has the most warmth to work with, and therefore sometimes can become the dominant storm, and when you have a cluster like this. But we've also seen situations in the not so distant past, wintertime scenarios, where we've seen a line of thunderstorms, a solid line, break down into individual supercells. And
I think we had that last year, the late January storm, when it came through Louisville. It produced tornado in J-Town, one in that came across the river near the Prospect area. That was one where we've had that. So what you're talking about historically in winter absolutely does happen, and traditionally when that happens, it's normally coming down nearing the knobs as many times when that breaks. For what it's worth, by the way, right now on radar, we're getting some significant rotation being shown right now near the Elizabeth area. That is a concern here. That's something that we'll have to watch. It's kind of obscured because it's close to the radar, so it's something we'll have to watch, but we are seeing near Elizabeth, Indiana, an area of rotation that may be starting to spin up. I suspect that Louisville Metro is going to go on a tornado warning at some point. I just, you know, honestly, in these kind of scenarios, this almost always happens where we get a breakdown here.
It does seem like that's the case. And as you mentioned earlier, when it comes to margin of error, Weather Service typically, they err on the side of caution when it comes to highly populated areas, and we understand that. That makes a lot of sense. But the good news is that if you look at this line as a whole, Louisville is going to come in on the south side, what appears to be south of the apex of that bow. That is, of course, unless another bow develops, and you can see that rotation evident even here on reflectivity mark.
Agreed, yeah, that notch right near the PRP area, you know, and the problem is, and you know, again, I have to say for the Weather Service side, is they're in a really, really difficult situation because when they have to deal with these things, it sometimes can produce spin-ups in next to no time whatsoever. Jeremy's going to go ahead and track that particular part of the line. I'm going to use 3D to go inside that line and see from a rotation standpoint what I'm looking at right now. And Jeremy, give out some times here, and then we'll kind of come over to 3D next.
Okay, Mark. Well, it's obviously going to be impacting Pleasure Ridge Park. It's going to be very close to you in Shively as well. So Valley Station, you know, you're in that neighborhood. I'm going to give you my best bet here as far as timing is concerned, because this thing is wasting no time as it's lifting off to the north and east. 70+ miles per hour. Should be within Pleasure Park within 6 minutes from now. On the current track, it actually will track very close to downtown Louisville, about 12 minutes from now. St. Matthews 15 minutes from now. Mark.
And we just got a new warning, by the way. It now does include the Louisville metro area. So Louisville's now under severe thunderstorm warning. Notice they did not go with a tornado warning. National Weather Service is warning for 60-mile-an-hour winds. Jeremy, that's better. 60 is not destructive, it's damaging. Can produce some tree damage in these kind of scenarios. Normally the smaller limbs are the kind that go down. Normally with 60 you don't get the widespread destructive kind of winds, but you know that doesn't mean it can't occur. It just means that judging from the data right now, that's not what we're seeing. And I'll look inside that line specifically. The highest winds that I'm looking at, I think they did the right thing here, because we're looking at about 55-mile-an-hour winds, Jeremy, 600 feet off the ground here that are moving into Louisville. That kind of seems low-end severe thunderstorm for Louisville. And that kind of goes well with the fact that we're not even seeing any lightning along this line right now. We're just talking about basically some strong wind gusts on rain showers. Now, there is the still tornado warned part of the line. I still don't see anything in there that says to me tornado right now. I was more concerned when it was off to the west, more concerned than I am right now. And the warnings basically go from all of our area. This goes in the entire distance of our viewing area, from North Vernon, south through Charlestown, into Louisville, and then into the Litchfield area. And to our south, Jeremy, it has been a destructive event where we expected, unfortunately, but a very destructive event. There's injuries coming out of Arkansas with, it appears, tornado damage.
Yeah, quite a bit of damage earlier today for portions of the lower Mississippi River Valley. And you can see we're not the only ones dealing with this, because this line extends all the way from southern and even central Indiana all the way down to very close to the Gulf Coast. It's going to take a little while for us to get this whole thing through here. But as Mark and I were talking about, there's going to be more than one wave. It's the one that's moving through right now that's going to be the biggest impact, it looks like, for the central and northern portions of our viewing area. Anything that we get after this line, after it moves through Louisville, after it moves through Scottsburg, I think your weather's going to improve overnight tonight. Could see another round of heavy rain and thunderstorms, but I think your severe threat will definitely go down. But that may not be the case for our southern communities. Look what's happening downstream.
That's going to be interesting, really, how the southern part of our area unfolds, because this initial line is going to tell the story.
Yeah, it will. It will. It should give us a pretty good clue on what's going to happen later on tonight, because the air mass is not really going to change out ahead of it.
Right.
So by the time that this second line catches up into our southern communities, I'm talking about you folks down there in Hart County, LaRue, perhaps Nelson, and then the usual suspects, Greene, Taylor, Marion, Washington, and Adair counties. When this gets to your area, again, it's going to be something that unfortunately could take a while to get through. It may be a late night. They did update that tornado warning, Mark. They did go ahead, and it looks like they...
Let me get that information, Jeremy. National Weather Service saying a radar indicated tornado here for the Clark, Floyd, Harrison, Scott, Washington County at 8:39. They're saying that a severe line, again, capable of producing a tornado, is moving off towards the north and east. This one's still racing at 60 miles an hour. Jeremy, that's a positive. Speed's coming down a little. That could mean that it's losing some of its intensity. The line extends from 9 miles east of Salem to 6 miles north of the Corden area. And the line itself, you know, I have to say, doesn't look as impressive as it did a little bit ago. It does look like, in a sense, it's losing some of its intensity, but nonetheless, it's still going to be a 60-mile-an-hour wind producer. You know, at 60 versus 70 is a better thing, but you know, no matter how you look at it, we're talking about strong winds. Now, this is going to be in Louisville shortly here, so you could see basically New Albany now, 60-mile-an-hour winds moving into your area. Shively, 2 minutes from now, 60-mile-an-hour winds. West Point, 4 minutes from now. Muldrow, it'll be in your area in about 8 minutes. It'll be in Big Spring in about 12 to 14 minutes. It'll be in Hudson and McDaniels in close to 17 to 22 minutes. And then Caneyville, you know, you're outside of the warning, but if it holds together, you're probably talking about 40 minutes from now. So the line is making its march now into the Louisville area. We'll look at the colors here. Remember, we're looking for where the greens and the reds meet. And from a radar standpoint, you know, there's nothing specifically that jumps out in the velocities, but there's still these little curlicues. One of them that's coming into West Louisville. There's another one that's north of Shively. There's another one of those curlicues heading towards PRP. So, you know, this still could produce a quick tornado spin-up. Those are the kind of things that worry me, Jeremy. You know, when we've got storms coming through the metro that can produce quick spin-ups, it can be a real problem here. Light poles, by the way, being reported down now in Cloverport.
Okay, Mark. Well, I want to go ahead and get everybody updated on the current warnings that we have across the area, because many areas currently underneath active severe thunderstorm warnings. We have active severe thunderstorm warnings for Jackson and Jennings County across northern portions of our viewing area. That's for a storm capable of producing 60-mile-per-hour winds. To the south, active severe thunderstorm warnings for Jefferson County and Indiana. That does clip Scott County as well. Crosses the river, Trimble County, Kentucky, Oldham County, Kentucky. That includes downtown Louisville, much of Jefferson County, and it does also clip northwestern Bullitt County into northwestern Hardin County. That is a severe thunderstorm warning for the capability of producing 60-mile-per-hour winds. You can see that we also have additional severe thunderstorm warnings that do continue further to the west, and that one tornado warning, this is remains in effect for northern Floyd, northeastern Harrison, southeastern Washington, and into Clark County. As Mark mentioned, a path very similar to the storm we saw on March 2nd. But as we mentioned to you, this storm is nothing like the storm on March 2nd. So don't have any anxiety about another disaster like that occurring. But again, a quick spin up will remain a possibility, especially in that area. The counties in yellow, by the way, that is where you're continuing to be underneath a tornado watch. That watch continues officially until midnight tonight.
And by the way, we're getting a lot of reports on my Facebook page. I'm getting a lot of reports out of Brandenburg that probably 60-mile-per-hour winds. Nikki Roberts is saying that she lost part of her back porch gutters, and you know that's the kind of thing that you can get with these kind of setups. It normally doesn't produce destruction, but it definitely can produce damage here. Reports out of Corydon right now of extreme winds moving through the area here. You know, and obviously we're getting so many reports here of extreme rainfall amounts that occurred in particular in the northern part of our area. But we've got that line that's now in downtown Louisville. Jeremy, I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to give you the radar here for a second. Yeah. I'm going to go stick my head out the back door. I'm kind of curious. Don, can you just make sure that we don't have too much noise in the break room? I'm going to take a walk outside and just look outside, because basically those winds are coming into the downtown area right now. My mic will stay up here, Jeremy, as you do that, and I'll let you know what I'm seeing. All
right. Mark, I'm going to turn us over to base velocity, get an idea, see if we can see those winds.
Okay, and I'm outside out back, by the way, Jeremy. We're still looking at a southerly wind right now. Looks like it's probably in the neighborhood of 25 to 30. Obviously, the line hasn't hit Louisville, so the gust front isn't here yet. When that gust front gets to the downtown area, what we'd expect is those winds to go to the west very quickly. So downtown's still looking at southerly winds. And Jeremy, I'm looking at underneath the gust front here. It probably looks like it's about to hit downtown probably in the next 2 minutes or so. I could actually see where the gust front is moving off. The actual shelf cloud looks like it's east of Louisville, so that wind shift looks like it's going to be occurring within the next minute or so.
Yeah, you know, Mark, on Analyst right now, StormView 3D, it's actually showing, I'm not sure if this data is valid or not, but we're actually showing 60 to 70 knot winds with that.
Okay, and that, you know, the winds haven't shifted yet, so I can't speak specifically for downtown what's going to verify in that. We'll see as that gets in, but we've got a camera out there right now with one of our guys, so we'll get a chance to see at least as this comes across. But that shelf cloud did go east of Louisville. Normally, once the shelf goes by, you know, once that goes by, you're talking about minutes until you get the strongest winds coming through. So you're seeing on 3D here, we're looking at somewhere around 65-mile-per-hour winds, but that's at 1,200 feet. What's going to get down to the ground is probably going to be 60 to 65-ish.
Right. And that's another thing that, as meteorologists, we have to constantly keep in mind is that what part of the thunderstorm are you sampling? What part are you looking at? Right. And it will depend on how far away you are from the actual radar itself. The closer you are to the radar, then the more accurate your measurements are. Right. We're actually fairly close to that radar out of West Point there in northern Hardin County.
And New Albany just got a report from Raymond Van Ripper on Facebook here. He's letting me know that, let's see, broader winds didn't quite make it to the ground out of New Albany. That's a good sign here. Maybe we're not going to get the full, you know, we've said that it looks like from a radar standpoint, it doesn't look quite as intense as it once did, but the southern part of that line that's moving into PRP, South Louisville, that part of the line looks more intense. It looks like the northern end of the line's not doing quite as well as it once was. When I say not doing quite as well, I mean that in a positive here. Remember, let me know, Louisville, your storm reports. I'm asking for them on Facebook. It's Mark Weinberg, Mark with a C. I want you to pass along the storm reports, what you're seeing in your area. Let me preface this. You need to be safe. Don't pass along a storm report and do something foolish. If you can safely get me a storm report, find me on Facebook, Mark Weinberg. Click the like button, and then you can let me know what you're seeing. Or I'm on Twitter as well. Let me know. I just got a report from Daniel Bright on Twitter saying sweeping rains and strong winds in PRP. If you can estimate the strength of those winds, we'd appreciate them. And by the way, Jeremy, there's only one tornado warning now active on the entire line, which is a good thing considering where we were earlier today.
Well, absolutely, Mark. And that tornado warning that was in effect for portions of Floyd, Washington, Scott, and Clark counties. They went ahead and they allowed that to expire, and they have shown no signs of continuing or issuing new tornado warnings. So this is good news, and overall it does seem like there is a general weakening trend. Now, something I've noted on Mark, and you've seen this many times in your career, is that when a storm becomes outflow dominant, it loses structure, and the cells become smaller and also weaker in appearance. And I think that's what we're seeing south of Brandenburg, especially right now. So that line that's making its way through portions of Breckenridge and Meade County, it does not look nearly as severe as it did just a short time ago. The worst part of this line perhaps is making its way through the metro Louisville area. Still, there is a bow segment there that has developed into eastern portion, or make that western portions of Jefferson County. You can see kind of two little parts to it. One that's approaching downtown with the higher reflectivities, and then also further to the south and west into the PRP area, also Shively, and out towards the Valley Station area. So this perhaps is the most intense part of the storm that we're looking at right now. Further north in Indiana, yeah, you're still seeing that potential of some severe winds, but it's also embedded with rainfall, which a lot of times can help to tone down the wind energy just a little bit.
You know, and strictly speaking, from a meteorological standpoint, this system has absolutely no energy to work with. It's got wind energy, but there is no instability, and instability essentially is fuel for thunderstorms. And what you'll notice when you look along the line is a complete and utter lack of any lightning along the line. So these aren't really deep thunderstorms. They're not fully tapping into all of, you know, the energy aloft here, but nonetheless, you know, we're still going to be looking at the potential for 60-mile-an-hour winds. The strongest winds that were measured from the mesonet here out of the western part of our area were in the neighborhood of 45 miles per hour. So, you know, that's kind of where we stand right now. National Weather Service, by the way, has canceled the tornado warning here. So that's one thing I want to mention. National Weather Service canceled the tornado warning, so they're now just strictly going with severe thunderstorm warnings. With that said, I'm seeing an area of rotation that's near the Austin area. That's something that we'll have to watch. But all along this line, you know, anywhere on this line, a quick tornado spin-up is entirely in play on this, entirely in play. And in Louisville, we're looking at, I don't know if we've got that shot outside. Is it viewable? I hear the rain now, by the way, in downtown.
Yeah, it's coming down.
All right, Jeremy's going to step out there. And in the meantime, what I'm going to do is do a quick up and down, excuse me, on the line so we can talk about what we're dealing with here. You know, I tell you, every time it gets windy, never fails for me. Allergy season always gets going. All right, Jeremy, by the way, your mic is going to stay open while you're going out there. So downtown Louisville, we've got the rain moving in right now downtown. Algonquin Parkway, where that junctions with the Waterston, we've got heavy rain, wind gusts to 60 miles an hour. The wind gusts to 60 now, moving into the Southern Heights area. Parkwood, as we go off to the south near Fairdale, wind gusts to 60 miles per hour possible. And torrential rain that's hitting the downtown area right now. Jeremy, you've got your head out there. What's it look like right now?
Yeah, Mark, that rain is absolutely coming down, but the wind, it honestly doesn't look all that impressive. Okay. We are seeing some sheeting action with the rain. It comes through in waves, but judging from the flags, I see those winds aren't more than 20 or maybe 30 miles per hour right now, Mark.
That's good to know, Jeremy. Keep an eye out there for a second here as we watch that go through the Louisville area. Again, this is the strongest part of the line, you know. I've got to say, I just don't see something that looks very, very impressive right now. I really don't. You know, I can't say that it's not going to produce some damaging winds, but I don't see a line that's incredibly healthy. Along 65 from Seymour through Crothersville, expect wind gusts to 60 miles an hour. That's heading towards the North Vernon area and into the Lovett area. Graham to Lexington, expect the strongest winds to be moving into your area in the next 12 to 15 minutes. Wind gusts to 60 miles an hour possible, but notice that line in Henryville is still strong enough that it's going to produce damaging winds to 60 miles per hour. Use caution in Henryville. It is moving over you right now. Going to the line as it moves through Louisville, it just doesn't look that impressive, although it does show maybe a little bit of you know, maybe a little bit of a bow kind of segment developing near the Audubon Park area. I think if Louisville's to get the strongest winds out of this, it's probably going to occur maybe near the Audubon Park area and go right down I-264, so right down the Waterston, which basically would put that in the Newburgh area, and then move across Bardstown Road area in the next, let's say 6 to 9 minutes here. So the strongest part of that line moving through I-264 right now, about to cross I-265, excuse me, about to cross I-65. And then the southern part of the line becomes increasingly problematic. The issue here is what you'll see is there's these individual cells that are starting to break down from Hardinsburg through Irvington through Brandenburg. And you know, in these kind of setups, this is when you kind of can get a tornado spin up. So we'll have to watch that part of the line that's breaking down. And Jeremy alluded to that earlier. That's going to be one of the issues that we have to deal with here is can we get these quick spin ups along the line?
Yeah, and as they break down, generally that's a sign of weakening, but initially when they do break down, there is usually a narrow window when they can, as Mark mentioned, gain enough velocity to spin up. And so that's something that we have seen before, and certainly we'll need to keep our guards up for that.
And you know, from the National Weather Service, we haven't kind of given any update from them here. What they're continuing to speak to is you know, just damaging winds to 60 miles an hour. It's interesting here. We're not getting a lot of reports of anything that's in the severe realm, Jeremy. You know, you and I talked a lot prior to this event on what we thought was going to unfold. And one of the things that you and I spoke about is we can't control when the National Weather Service issues warnings. We can only forecast what we think is going to happen. You and I spoke last night when we came through, and you and I spoke today. And the damaging winds here, while we do believe they can occur, it doesn't look like a destructive event because we got rained on almost the entire day. And normally what that does is that saps the, you know, even if the wind energy is there, that still saps a lot of that energy. And normally we don't go into major events.
Right. And, you know, we talk about instability a lot. And instability essentially is the difference in temperature and moisture values at the surface compared to what's happening up above us. And you can have really high values of both moisture and temperature at the surface, but if you're not cooling down above you, then that's not going to really help to take the thunderstorms to take off. And what happened today is a combination of what Mark mentioned, where we did have the rain earlier today. That helped to limit the amount of heating that we did receive, even though it did get very, very warm. But still, the upper part of the storm system remains well to our west, and that's where the cold air is located. And you need that to be on top of you in order to get those violent thunderstorms. What we have here is we've got just tremendous wind energy above us, and some of that wind energy is being transferred to the ground through these showers and storms that do develop. But unless those storms punch way up into the atmosphere, it's not going to necessarily translate to the ground.
And looking across here, most of my reports, by the way, are just saying some winds to 45 to 55, which for the most part here looks sub-severe, although I just got a report out of New Albany of, you know, it's an amateur report of 65 to 70 mile per hour winds. That may be just a little bit high from what we're getting from most of the reports right now. But nonetheless, that's kind of some of the reports. If you can let us know safely what you're seeing in your area, you can find me on Facebook, make the report. I've asked for reports on there. So just go to Facebook, click Mark Weinberg. It's Mark with a C, type in my name, and then click like, and then you can go ahead and start posting. Just got a report, someone behind the cordon in Walmart, that they had a storage shed that was blown over in their backyard here. That's the kind of stuff, Jeremy, that we normally see on this kind of a line, is what is not the high level severe, but what is more of tree limbs down rather than entire trees coming down. We see scattered power outages versus destructive power outages where huge parts of the areas go under. That doesn't look like the kind of setup we have. The line continues to move through Louisville. I've yet to see a lightning strike. Did you see even one, Jeremy?
No, not when I was out there.
Okay, so not even a single lightning strike. What we'll do is Jeremy and I are going to go up and down the line. We're going to do a track here, so you know when to expect it in your area. We've got a severe thunderstorm warning that does include the North Vernon area, so let me move out of your way. Specifically, this is going to be in the North Vernon and Lovett area here shortly, and you're under a severe thunderstorm warning. The crazy part about this storm is it's moving to the north and east at close to 80 miles an hour, which is, you know, from a storm standpoint, almost unheard of. But that's 5 minutes until the North Vernon area that it gets into your area, and that will put it in the Lovett area basically right now. Then it'll continue off to the north and east. So if you look here, Johnson, 17 minutes. That means it'll be out of our viewing area in 17 minutes. That's how fast this part of the line's moving. Now we'll go down 65 a little further because the storm continues to basically traverse 65, and we've got segments here that we'll have to watch. One of those segments going through Scottsburg, another little segment that goes north of Charlestown, and each of these breaks can produce quick spin-ups, although not under tornado warnings. We can't take them off the table here. It is something that we're going to watch. So Charlestown 3 to 5 minutes from now, Madison in 11 minutes, and then it puts it in Milton in 18, Carrollton 25. So Carrollton, you have about 30 minutes before wind gusts to 60 miles an hour, if this holds together, could get into your area. Severe thunderstorm warning is 60-mile-an-hour winds, so that's right here. The criteria that we call destructive is about 70. So we are bare bottom of what we call severe thunderstorms right now. There are the lower end severe thunderstorm warnings. We don't tell you that so we can minimize it. I just want to give you the information so you know how to deal with this. Now in Louisville, the stronger winds are moving towards Prospect, but this is the part of the storm that Jeremy talked about as it came across the city. He said when he's looking outside, only seeing about 35-mile-an-hour winds. It did not look incredibly intense to him as it came across the city. We'll go down further off to the south and look at the rest of the line as it continues to come on through the metro area here. So we've got Prospect in that line right now, and a zoom in on Louisville puts it basically heaviest winds right now along 42 in Prospect, puts winds now approaching the Linden area, puts strong winds now approaching the Bardstown Road area. That'll be in Bardstown Road and I-264 here in 2 minutes. It puts it in Okolona in about 4. For my wife, who's, by the way, in Fern Creek right now, I think you're probably going to see up to maybe 60-mile-per-hour winds. She always texts me to ask what's going on. I just want to let you and Bella know it doesn't look like it's a major one that's going to produce widespread damaging winds or power outages here. But nonetheless, we're going to watch it, obviously. It's in St. Matthews and LaGrange in 14 minutes. In 29 minutes, it'll be in Lacey. And then Port Royal in about 31 minutes. 22, it'll be in the Campbellsburg area. Continuing down that line, we'll continue to track the rest of the line because, look, I say this a lot. It doesn't matter if you're in our biggest city or if you're in our smallest city in our viewing area. We really like to take each one of our cities just equally important along that line. And we've got one severe thunderstorm line here that goes from south of Brandenburg through Irvington into the Hardinsburg area. And we can track that whole line since that's basically being dealt with as a single severe thunderstorm warning from the National Weather Service. You can see the interesting part here, and Jeremy's alluded to this, is notice this part of the line over the last hour is not moving. This puts Brandenburg, Irvington, Hardinsburg, New Albany in a potential flash flood kind of rain where we can get excessive rain continuing for a period of time. And that's something that concerns me, Jeremy. That's kind of a training setup that's setting up there.
It really is, Mark. And so if you see those showers and storms continuing to move over the same areas, that rain can really add up over time. And then you're going to compound that eventually later on when you see this next line that is forming further to the south and west. That could also move through that same area. So that's something that we'll have to watch. The good news is that typically in a scenario like that, you don't have as severe winds normally. Normally you need the winds or the storms to be moving perpendicular to the relative motion of the storm. This is kind of training along the same path, and that would divert.
And they just issued a flash flood warning, by the way. The National Weather Service does have a flash flood warning on, and that's specifically the area we just mentioned. So their concern is rising as well. The area that they're talking about specifically under the flash flood warning is Breckenridge, Meade, Hancock, Ohio, and Harrison County. So they're on the same page, Jeremy. They're very concerned about that area, and they're talking about rainfall. Let's see if they're giving estimates. They're talking about 1 to 2 inches continuing to fall very, very quickly here. So on top of what's already fallen, which is probably in the neighborhood of 2 inches, we can add another 1 or 2 to that. And the National Weather Service is saying that they're working with the Storms Prediction Center. They're likely going to issue a severe thunderstorm watch for the bluegrass part of Kentucky, and then a tornado watch for the southeastern parts of central Kentucky, which could conceivably deal with, let's say, Washington County through around, let's say, Hart County, and then even into Adair County. Those counties could potentially go under a tornado watch. When we get that, we'll pass it along. Right. But Jeremy, I saw you looking at radar estimates on totals. About how much are we looking at?
Well, I'll tell you what, totals west of here have been incredible. We really kind of dodged a bullet when it came to the heaviest amount of rainfall, but still the rain adding up out there in our neck of the woods as well. Let me get some totals here for you, give you an idea of what we are looking at. And you can see those totals off to the west.
Right,
quite impressive. Better than 6 inches of rain estimated by radar out towards the Evansville areas. Here locally, still very heavy. We're showing somewhere in the order of around 3 to 4 inches for portions of Crawford County, also Perry County. Near Jasper, you're looking at some very impressive totals near you as well.
We just got a 51-mile-an-hour wind gust measured out of Georgetown, Indiana, Jeremy, at 8:57, by the way.
Yeah. And here's a closer up look at some of those rainfall totals that we were just telling you about. And again, we're showing radar estimate only, so it doesn't necessarily mean all this reached the ground, but we're showing 3 to 4.5 inches for our western counties. Let's go back to the radar.
And severe thunderstorm watch now issued for Carroll County, and that goes basically south into where we talked about our far southeastern counties. So the severe thunderstorm watch now has been issued for Carroll County. Henry was in the tornado watch, so it looks like there's an overlap.
Look what they're going to do here. Do you see a gap in the
Yeah, that's where they're going to extend the tornado watch. So, the severe thunderstorm watch right now, no, Jeremy, actually, you know, it may just be taking a second to come in there because they do have a severe thunderstorm watch here now coming in for Shelby, for Spencer County, for Nelson, LaRue County, severe thunderstorm watch, Marion, and Washington County. So basically, we're looking for that just to still come in. You know, I think the National Weather Service and the Storms Prediction Center appear to be thinking what we're thinking. You know, a tornado could occur.
Right.
But when you issue a watch, you issue for the main threat. And I would say the main threat here is damaging winds. And even at that, I don't think we're looking at a destructive wind event. I really just don't. I think we're talking about our traditional run-of-the-mill severe thunderstorms that can produce up to 60, and it looks like it's really not doing that for the most part. It looks like more of the 45 to 55s.
No, and I'm going to go ahead and run back over here to our NWS connection to see if there's been any more reports. But you mentioned the 51-mile-per-hour gust out of Georgetown.
Jeffersonville just got a report, by the way, too, of 45 to 50.
Sub-severe. I mean, it's really nothing to be terribly concerned about.
You know, and I hate, you know, when we do this stuff, we just want to give you our opinion on this. You know, I think a lot of times, I think people just want to know, is this something you need to be concerned about? I'm not going to say that the severe threat is not existing. I mean, because it does. It does exist. We could get wind gusts to 60 miles an hour. But what I will say is I don't see this as something that's just producing tons of destructive winds. And, you know, it looks like in the line, Jeremy, it looks like it's saying, hey, I had great fuel in western Kentucky. You know what? I have this big, powerful engine of 70-mile-an-hour winds aloft. You're giving me high-test fuel. Now, when it gets to our area where that fuel is basically junk, you know, it looks to me like it's dying. I mean, it just doesn't look like it's doing well.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Let's go back to an hour ago or so, and when actually about an hour and a half ago, when this thing really started producing a lot of warnings, and you can see how well defined that line was. That bow segment was very well put together. It looked quite ominous as it was entering the western counties, or western portions of our viewing area. There was a tornado warning initially for Ohio and Hancock counties just west of us. They issued several severe thunderstorm warnings and then eventually that tornado warning. But you can notice as we go forward in time, from about 8 o'clock on, it began to weaken gradually. And you can see how instead of having the intense cores of orange and red, you're looking at much more scattered in nature, shower and thunder shower type of activities. So this is definitely a good sign. It appears that things are moving in the right direction.
And Jeremy, just got a report, by the way, another severe report here, 55-mile-per-hour wind gusts on the Scott-Jefferson County line, 3 miles east of the Blotcher area. You know what? The world is changing because we have so many spotters out there with their at-home weather stations. And, you know, we're getting a lot of reliable reports. We get people that have a wind station at their house and can tell us what they're seeing. You know, I haven't heard really of many reports of winds over about 55. That seems to be the main situation here. What I'm going to tell you is, without a tornado warning, what I'd like to do is stay with severe weather coverage here for a little bit longer as the warning remains in effect for the Louisville metro area. Once we lose the severe thunderstorm warning for the metro, what I think we're going to do is transition away. And at 9:10 is when that warning was set to expire. So, you know, let me see if the National Weather Service is going to go with anything. Right now, Jeremy, the National Weather Service is going for Breckenridge, Bullitt, Grayson, Hardin, Henry, Jefferson, Meade, Oldham, Shelby, Trimble County, and Kentucky. They've dropped the warnings. They're just going to go with strong winds up to 40 miles an hour. and they're not going to issue any severe thunderstorm warning at all at this point right now. So, you know what, our way of dealing with this is to inform when we feel like we're just cutting your program off for absolutely no reason. That's not our style. I don't want to hear myself talk. I assume you don't either, Jeremy.
Not usually.
So what we're going to do is Jeremy's going to finish off making his forecast. You should have got that done earlier.
Working on it.
And we're going to send you back to programming. If there's more severe thunderstorm warnings, keep it right here on WDRB for continuing weather coverage.